I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for InvestmentPitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, once again, we have Sergey Gorbunov, CEO and co-founder of Axelar Network. Sergey, welcome back to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, Ashton, great to be back.
Likewise, there's been a lot that's going on. I've been following Axelar Network. Your team has some huge surprises that I'm looking forward to discussing in this episode. But for the viewers that didn't see our first interview and people that want to get familiar with Axelar Network, can you start off by giving us a high-level overview of Axelar, and then we can dive into the details?
Yeah, no, for sure. So Axelar is a blockchain interoperability network that was designed to connect different blockchain ecosystems, applications, and users, right? And the basic problem that we're trying to solve is to allow users and developers to interact and compose across multiple ecosystems in an easy way. And so we're building a decentralized network and a set of SDKs and services around it to solve that.
Great. And yeah, I think that's a huge issue with the isolation of blockchains and cross-chain solutions. I feel like there's going to be some breakthrough where we can all be one big family, and blockchains don't have to have all this extra work to communicate with each other. And there are a few other solutions, that have been trying to do this because, blockchains have been isolated for like 10 years now. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what makes Axelar Network special in its cross-chain solution and why you think it's going to be the best solution for cryptocurrency in a whole.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the solutions that you've seen, previously in the market, they tried to solve the problem in an ad hoc way, right? So they've been built things like pairwise bridges between ecosystem A and ecosystem B, or some other protocols that don't really scale across different blockchains. And so the way we've designed Axelar Network from the ground up is that you can think of it on the high level as an overlay network that serves three purposes. One, it provides a uniform routing across different blockchains, right? So no more pairwise connections, that you have to manage. B, it provides a translation layer that you can use to go from, let's say, a chain like Cosmos to an EVM chain. Those chains speak very different languages. They have different smart contract supports, and you want to be able to translate messages as you go from one of these ecosystems to another. And so that functionality is baked into the Axelar network. And C is the security, right? I think at the end of the day, if we have lots of different blockchains and you want to connect them together, you're going to have to rely on some intermediary process or service or protocol that helps you do that. And so by having a systematic and uniform way to deal with various security threats, attack models, we're able to improve the security of the overall cross-chain environment.
Definitely. Thank you for the elaborating on that, because there's a lot of intricacies involved in cross-chain solutions, and it is not something that can be done overnight. I know your team's been working on this for a long time, and there's different stages, and it's almost a never-ending progression as you continue to reiterate it and make things better. Can you talk a little bit about where you're at now with all the work that's been done in 2021? Where is Axelar Network at right now?
Yeah, so most of the 2021 was spent building, some of the core pipes for this technology, right? So the Axelar Network itself, some of the core functionalities behind it. We've ran multiple test networks. We had, close to 100 validators participating in it, over 1,000 developers that were, playing with the network, experimenting, performing various cross-chain calls. And last month, we announced that we're starting the rollout of the main network, right? It's going to be a phased rollout where, that will involve a few different phases. The initial ones include just validator onboarding, right? Turning on basic asset transfer flows. We opened up a simple application on top of the network satellite a couple of weeks ago that allows people to do simple token transfers from one ecosystem to another. But this is just some of the sample functionalities, and we're going to continue rolling out and opening up more of them over the coming months, onboarding new chains, onboarding more validators, and then working directly with the developers to help them go cross-chain. This is really our ultimate mission, is to allow any application to go cross-chain, and that's what we're after.
Definitely, and I think that's a great mission. And I want to talk about the developers in a minute, but you spoke there first about the validators, the nodes, and running the network. And I'm curious, in your team's work, as you continue to grow out the network, you talk about adding more validators. How do you balance and manage, validators versus decentralization versus scalability and making sure that everything runs smoothly?
Great question. I think, no matter what you do, it's always a trade-off that you have to make, right? In some sense, between security, speed of processing, right? The decentralization, and so on and so forth. I mean, our goal and our philosophy from day one has been to look at projects that establish successful, security models in the past. And it's really the only solution that we know is by having a decentralized validator set, right, and an open consensus mechanism. And so, Axelar Network was designed around the Cosmos SDK. So we follow like an open validator set where anybody can join, anybody can run a node, anybody can participate. We're setting with an initial validator parameter, which will continue, increasing as we get more performance on the network and as we, improve in some of these robustness features. But yeah, I think it is, I guess, we're carefully observing the network, right? We have various tools that have been built on top of it for monitoring, including like explorers, including dashboards, and so on and so forth. And as we get more confidence, as we get more functionality support, we're just going to keep on increasing decentralization, keep on increasing the validator set, because ultimately that's the only way to get security in the space.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, well said. And as you continue to increase those numbers, I saw that the team and the project is expanding. Hot off the press today in the news, I saw that Axelar was closing a $35 million Series B, which is incredible. So first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And now with that raise closed, what are the next steps with that capital and I guess moving towards the next stage of the development?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue expanding on three different avenues. I think one, we want to continue growing the number of integrations, right, that we're supporting through the Axelar network. Mm-hmm. So more chains. We have designed the stack to be able to onboard the new chain in a very easy way. Like for an EVM chain, it's actually like 10, 15 commands that you run the network and that's it. For other chains, there is a little bit more work that we have to do if they speak like another different consensus language. So we'll have to do this translation layer for them. But definitely we're going to continue expanding on that. B, we're going to continue expanding just the team overall that continues building the core project, everything from engineering to business development, content creation, documentation. That's very critical for the project. And C, we are just starting to work with a lot of the application builders that want to go cross-chain, and so we're going to continue supporting them, building SDKs, documentation, and we'll use parts of the funds to scale those directions as well.
Incredible. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the developers. Making dApps cross-chain is going to be amazing for the interoperability, but I think building those dApps is the first step, and making sure that the development ecosystem is really easy to use and understandable. How is your team helping lower those barriers to entry to actually increase the development and want people to start building with Axelar?
Yeah, the first objective that we wanted to achieve is to make sure the developers don't have to learn another language, right, to interact and go cross-chain. So the Axelar network has been designed with the principle that as a developer, you can go and build on any platform that you're most comfortable with, right? If you like EVM chains on Solana or Avalanche, you can go and build there, and you can interact with what we call as gateway contracts in the same language as you write in your dApp, right? So there are additional function calls that you would have to execute from your application to our gateway contracts. But from there, our gateways effectively unlock for you composability and communication with the rest of the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to do anything else, right? So that's why we're building the network and the set of services around it to make it easier for the developers to, so that they don't have to like relay transactions, pay multiple gas fees across different chains, right? Wait on confirmations and so on and so forth. So we're building all these sets of auxiliary services on top of the network to make it easier for the developers to execute those calls without learning a new language and without having to perform all of those additional services that are required to actually scale cross-chain. And as you said, it's not an easy journey. It requires building certain stacks along the way. But I think we're here to stay and continue building.
Definitely, yeah. I feel like Axelar and all these like layer 1 protocols are like asteroids like flying through space, and they may collide at some point, but the timing has to be right as well, because you're trying to integrate all of these different blockchains, and at the same time the teams at those protocols are working to continually expand and grow their protocols. So do you communicate with the other protocols and like try to make sure that you guys are on the same page with this cross-chain communication, or how does that work?
We definitely communicate, right? I think, when we started a year and a half ago, we sort of had a bet on the multi-chain ecosystem, right? Last year, we spent the time, building most of it. And today, every project is figuring out what is going to be my interoperability or cross-chain strategy, right? From layer 1s that are talking about like bridges to application developers that are thinking, how do I scale my application, right? Like, how do I get more users to access it? How do I get better distribution? And the only answer is to, go cross-chain, right? And, in some sense, I think it's it's a requirement for some of these applications to continue growing and surviving, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I feel like 2021, people were saying, it's the year of NFTs becoming mainstream and, DeFi continuing to explode. Do you see or foresee in the next year or coming years, like one of these, it's going to be the year of cross-chain integrations? Finally, like there's a holistic family of all the blockchains are able to speak to each other, or will it be like some gradual integration that you don't really think about?
I do think, it's starting to be one of the top topics, right? I think, this year we're probably still going to see a large footprint of various like bridging technologies, right? And just people explicitly moving assets from chain A to chain B. But there are a lot of projects that are, integrated directly where this bridging functionality is sort of obfuscated from the users and they don't have to explicitly, move their tokens back and forth. Is there going to be a moment where we're all going to say, oh, we need to go cross-chain? I do think so. And I don't know when it would be, probably over the coming years. And the reason for this is that first applications that start having cross-chain support are just going to have so much advantage compared to the applications that don't have it, right? It's going to be access to more liquidity, access to more users, and access to more distribution, right? And for an application developer, that's what you're seeking for. And so as soon as first, category of project, let's say like DEXs integrate, then every other DEX has to do the same. Otherwise, they're just not going to be competitive in the market and not have the same, liquidity or same user distribution. So, maybe not all projects will embrace this at the same time, but I expect categories of different players we're seeing to kind of embrace it around similar timeframes and follow one another.
Definitely. Yeah. Great point, Sergey. And I think we'll probably look back, years from now and laugh when we saw that, decentralized exchanges that could only trade Ether tokens between each other and
Yep.
None of the other ones were isolated. And we'll think, wow, that was crazy. But right now we love it, right?
Yep. So, I think, the end goal is that users, have any asset, see an application, just go and interact with it, right? And I think, I do think we're going to get there.
Definitely. And you mentioned as a part of the raise, you're expanding the team and continuing to work on development. I'm curious, for outside people listening in, are you guys looking for more, in-house developers, or are you also looking for other people to help contribute that aren't coders, or they can help in other ways as well?
Yeah, I think we're looking for contributors on all fronts, right? Everybody from, joining the team full time to continue to the core development of the network, but also we have a very vibrant ecosystem of developers around the project, right? So some of the tooling, dashboards, Validator kind of monitoring tools have been built by outside community, that contribute in like pull requests to our repositories. We have people that have built, demos of various bridges on top of the network and starting to see early applications, prototyping and figuring out their integration paths. We also have lots of folks that helped us build just educational material, right, around the network. How do you spin up a node? What does this network look like? How do you relay transactions from one network to the other? So when we're continuing to look for folks to help us create content, create education around the network, it is a complicated stack, and we'll have, it will be so until we make it easier and more accessible and build very simple APIs on top of it. And so there's a long journey ahead of us, and we're looking for folks to help us get there.
Definitely. Yeah. And you mentioned bridges a few times, and I know many people that are familiar with bridging from Ethereum to Polygon, or from any chain to another chain. It seems like it's the best technology that we have to make this intermediary for cross-chain right now. What are your thoughts on, is that the best technology we have? And I feel like there's still a lot of flaws in bridges.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the bridges that people have built, they're either centralized, right, or they pairwise, which doesn't really allow you to continue uniformly scale the ecosystem. So, as an example, we have built kind of a bridging application on top of the Axelar network, which is satellite, but it already has lots of advantages where you as a user, you don't have to pay like multiple gas fees and transaction fees. It has this uniform routing capability where every new chain that gets added gets automatically interconnected with all other chains, right? So it's kind of it's a huge networking effect from that perspective. But it's just a sample application. I do think bridges will sort of stay in some sense, because at the end of the day, some people need to move, large parts of liquidity from chain A to chain B, right? Or just rebalance their books in the back end, or whatever that is. But I think retail users are going to start accessing cross-chain applications, a lot more over the coming year or two.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for that insight. And pretty much, I've been following the Axelar updates, and it looks like you guys are doing amazing work so far. I think 2022 is going to be a huge year. For the viewers that want to also follow along with these updates and also get involved with the community in the ways that you mentioned, what's the best way for them to follow along?
Yeah, I think a good starting place is our website, right? Axelar.network. From there, folks can find links to various developer communities that we have, including Discord. I think we have over 40,000 folks on Discord right now. Social channels like Telegram. We have Twitter, that's where we constantly post updates. It's at Axelar Core, and we have links to various developer ecosystem programs. So people can submit applications. We're going to review them on the back end, invite them to various channels, and help them in any way we can. Amazing.
Thank you, Sergey. I will leave all those links for the viewers in the description box below. I appreciate you coming on to speak about Axelar once again. Congratulations on all of the growth since our last video. I'm looking forward to following up again. So let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Sounds great. Thanks for the invite. It was great chatting, Ashton.